I don't really like that much personally. You can remove one or more +1 counters from among creatures you control to put an XX green ooze token equal to the number of +1 counters. So it's weird.
Probably if you have like 2 mana that you could spare, and then if you use all the other mana and kill all your other creatures with counter tokens, and with that 2 mana spell, that token will be unblockable and somehow gets haste, maybe. But
I don't really catch it, but yeah, it could possibly have some use, but I don't really see it that...
Maybe as a finisher, but then what's the point of having it? I mean, you could have something else.
Now this card, however, Sylvan Primordial, that's a solid card. 4 of those I got.
Yay.
It's got Reach, it's a 6/8 for 7 mana, and when it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, destroy target non-creature permanent that player controls. For each permanent destroyed this way, search your library for a forest card and put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. How sick is that? You got lands, you get to destroy your opponent's cards, and you get a 6/8 with Reach.
Yeah, and then you play 2 Cloud Shifts for 2 white mana. Bam, bam, and you do it again.
Oh god.
Or you just get a Conjurer's Closet so it ticks every round, but I'd say Cloud Shifts is... Oof.
Yeah, then we have Giant Ediphage, the only mythic I got for green cards.
What? The only?
It's a 7/7 with Trample for 7 mana. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of Giant Ediphage. So yeah.
Get a friend. You have 2 of those, right?
Yep, got 2 of those. That's a pretty sick card too, actually. So green got boosted this set, I'd say. Camera's still good, angle and such.
Let's see. Yeah, if you just... there you go. And angle it a bit, yeah.
Okay, so we have Undercity Informer. An uncommon, not that good. It's a 2/3 for 3 mana. You can pay 1 mana and sacrifice a creature. Target player reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a land card, then puts those cards into his or her graveyard. Could work well if you have the blue-black discard milling thing, but not good in of its own. So
either you play a deck that wants cards in your own graveyard and target yourself, or you play some sort of mill combo.
Yeah, they had a lot of good those with blue-black
control.
But yeah, then we have Midnight Recovery for 4 mana. It's a cipherable return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Could be okay, I guess.
How much is the cipher? How much is the card?
4.
4.
So it's a bit heavy on that cost, but cipher is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Death's Approach, enchant creature. It gets -X, where X is the number of creature cards in in its controller's graveyard. So good late game, but
in its controller's graveyard, not owners.
In its controllers, yes.
So
then we got Balustrade Spy. Flying, when it enters the battlefield, target player reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a land card and puts those cards into his or her graveyard. 2/3 for flying, for 4. They seem to have some sort of theme like that.
Yep.
Then we have 1/2 flying with Extort for 2 mana. That's actually pretty good. And in case I didn't mention that, Extort means that whenever you cast a spell, you can pay either white or a black. And if you do, all opponents lose 1 life and you gain that much life. So, really solid ability.
Like a 4-person free-for-all or a 5-person free-for-all, that they get increasingly better and better.
Then we have Shadow Alley Denizen, a 1/1. Whenever another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, target creature gains Intimidate until end of turn for 1 mana. That's pretty good, I'd say. Anywho, enough with the foils. Let's go to the rares. It's a 2/2 Extort card for 4 mana.
What's it
And
called?
whenever you... it's called Cryptghast. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add black to your mana pool, so it doubles your black mana. Got 2 of those, so I really like that card.
And there was a card in this expansion that said target players' basic lands are now swamps.
Ah, yes.
So you could technically tap land for blue and get a black on top of that.
Indeed. Then we have Undercity Plague for 6 mana. Target player loses 1 life, discards a card, then sacrifices a permanent, and it's cipherable.
That is why you want it.
Yeah. I mean, the effect itself is a bit too little for 6 mana.
You could just cipher that on top of what are those called? The 1/1 unblockables.
Yeah, so anything unblockable would be awesome. Then, oops, there was another of these crypt guests. I'll just put it there. Then we have Ogre Slumlord. I got 4 of those, so we could create a rat deck. Because whenever a non-target creation dies, you may put a 1/1 black rat token onto the battlefield, and all rats you control have Death Touch. It costs 5 mana, and it's a 3/3 in and of itself. An Ogre Slumlord is what it's called.
Yep. So ogres and rats. Not
Ogres
the obvious combo, but
apparently they work.
yeah.
Then we have Sepulture Primordial.
3?
3 of them, yes. It costs 7 mana, and it's a 5/4 with Intimidate. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may put up to 1 target creature from that player's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control.
And you get to choose.
You get to choose. You just for each player you get 1 creature. So that's pretty.
Take a Childred, another Schnorn, and a Darksteel Colossus. Thanks.
So-
Don't see how all of them would be in the graveyard already, but
Apparently they were.
that's good
Then
dream.
1 Lord of the Void. Costs 7 mana too. It's a 7/7 with flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, exile the top 7 cards of that player's library, then put a creature card from among them onto the battlefield under your control.
If you get to use this is going to make your day.
Yeah, because that would be pretty awesome.
And it's not impossible. I mean, 7 mana. There are tons of games where you actually get to play 7 mana cards.
Yeah, so
So it's a okay card actually. Yeah,
pretty
I
damn
like
good.
it.
Okay, so now it's White's turn. I got a Syndic of Tithes, 2 mana, Extort for 2/2. Pretty good. Aerial Maneuver. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains flying and first strike until the end of turn.
It's basically the combo of all 3 that makes it playable.
Yeah. Hold the gates. Creature you control gets +0/+1 for each gate you control and have vigilance.
Which will be quite a bit, I'm guessing, because most people tend to use the guild gates and those things.
Yeah, so that can actually be pretty good. And Night Watch. Put 2/2 white knight creatures. Tokens
Ninja creature.
with vigilance onto the battlefield. It's cost 5 mana, so a bit too much I'd say, but could be good I guess. Orbis Protector, this guy again. 6 mana, 1/1, and you also get a 4/4 White Angel token with flying when he comes out. And then let's go to the rares. Blind Obedience, 2 mana, Extort, Enchantment. Artifacts and creatures your opponent control enter the battlefield tapped. So all those together form a pretty solid card.
How much
for 2
mana?
2 mana. 1
Which
white,
is why it's
1
good.
colorless. Yes. Then we have Frontline Medic. Battalion, which we haven't really gone through yet. When 2 other creatures, including this one, attacks, they form some sort of effect. And in this case, all creatures you control get indestructible until end of turn.
So if this and 2 others attack at the same time, at least.
Then they'll all become indestructible.
Yeah. And hopefully other stuff, since hopefully we've built a battalion themed deck, so the other creatures will also have their own battalion effects.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the point, basically. When you attack with 3 or 4 creatures with battalion each, you're gonna get like tons of random effect, not random, but the effects, and
that can be quite devastating.
yeah, they don't do shitloads each, but this one does. But together they will be really annoying.
Not to mention, it also has a second effect, where if an opponent plays spell with X in its mana cost, it will be countered unless it pays 3 mana. But you have to sacrifice this card to do that. So it's a bit situational, but considering it's a 3/3 with Indestructible Battalion for 3 mana, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Then we have Angelic Skirmisher. At the beginning of each combat, choose First Strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink. Creatures you control gain that ability until the end of turn. It's a 4/4 with flying for 6 mana. That's pretty good. Especially in combination with the other angel, the red-white one. Both combat phases, you get 2 different things, possibly.
Yeah.
Then we have the white Primordial, which I find lacking in many ways.
Yeah.
It's 4/7 for 7 mana. It's got Vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to one target creature that player controls, and that player gains life equal to its power.
Which is basically remove a strong creature but heal the guy for quite a bit.
Yeah, so
it's-
compared to the other Primordials, this one is very lucky.
I'd rather play Darksteel Artifact in a non-artifact deck, actually. So.
Then we have Gideons, which we got 3 out of.
2 from the same box?
Yeah. 2 mana and 2 white mana. It starts at 4 loyalty counters, and its +1 is you put a loyalty counter on him for each creature target opponent controls. So it's potentially a lot of loyalty counters he's gonna get.
Wait, for each creature what?
Target opponent controls. And then until end of turn, it's a 0 ability. Gideon, Champion of Justice, becomes an indestructible human soldier creature with power and toughness each equal to the number of loyalty counters on him. He's still a planeswalker, prevent all damage that will be dealt to him this turn.
So it's indestructible and you prevent all damage, so he won't lose any loyalty counters either. So once you're on a comfortable level, just keep spamming 0.
Unless you feel that your opponent is starting to overwhelm you, then you do the -15, exile all other permanents. Bam. All lands, all everything is gone. He is the only one left standing.
That will still turn into creature each turn for the 0 effect and bam, 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 bam.
Yeah.
So people will probably try and kill him pretty fast.
Probably.
Make sure you have some sort of defense structure for that.
Then we head over to the blue cards. Scatter Arc, 4 mana to counter target non-creature spell and draw a card. Meh. Gridlock, 1 mana and X. Tap X target non-blind permanents.
Could work.
Could work, but a bit costly if you want to actually tap all the opponent's creatures or something.
Yeah, there should be some overload cards that probably in most cases would be cheaper, but yeah.
Yeah. Then we have Realm Right. Whenever this card enters the battlefield, choose a basic land type. Lands you control are the chosen type, in addition to their other types. So there are some ways you could combo this, but the best one is it's basically a mulligan saver. Like, you have the wrong types of lands in your hand, but you still have a decent hand, then play this guy and you can get the right type of lands.
Especially since it's only 1 mana of one specific color. But remember that every swamp you tap gives you an extra black. So you can make red or green lands or white lands into swamps, and then you tap them for red or blue or green, and then you still get a black.
So double mana there.
Yeah.
Stolen Identity. For 6 mana, put a token onto the creature that's a copy of target artifact or creature. So, sorry guys, the battery died, so we'll just have to keep on going from here. Stolen Identity, as we said, it can be ciphered and you get a token of artifact or creature. Pretty sweet since it's cipherable, but otherwise a bit too costly. Then we have a Simic Manipulator, for those. It's got Evolve, so it's going to get plenty of +1 counters on it. And you can tap it to remove a +1 counter on it, or more. And you can gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of +1 counters removed this way. So then you're back to 0, and then you can keep on getting more and more counters, and you can take over a creature and keep on going like that. So that's a pretty sweet ability.
Would be so nice to snatch a Primordial Hydra early stage with that.
Oh, yeah. Then you have Diluvian Primordial, the blue Primordial. It's cost 7 mana, it's a 5/5 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If the card cost this way would be put into graveyard, it's exiled instead.
Would be so nice to cast Burn at the Stakes this way.
Plenty of good spells and sorceries out there, so yeah, I can.
You play Burn at the Stakes, and then you tap all your creatures except for Aurelia, and then you attack with her, and all your creatures are untapped, and you can still attack with everything.
Yeah, plenty of cards you can use of that. So let's go to the red cards now. Pretty bad card. Enchanted Land has tap it, discard a card, you get a draw card.
For only 5 mana?
Only 5, that's a deal!
I think I know why our economy is all fucked up.
Massive Raid, 3 mana. It deals damage to target creature or player equal to the number of creatures you control. Could be good in a token deck, or a low cost mana card deck.
Yeah, there are some ways to get a lot of temporary token creatures, and then maybe you could cast that for some nice effect. But overall, I think there are better cards than that. It's not a shitty card, but
It's a common, so that's interesting. And so Wrecking Ogre, 5 mana. It's got double strike and a 3/3, but you get to blood rush it. Well, it gets 3/3 and double strike, whatever creature you choose. So it still costs 5 mana to do that, but potentially you could kill someone off without them even thinking you could do
or
that.
maybe you have something that says per point of damage effect happens, and that would be an enormous buff for such a creature.
Yeah, since it's double strike.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet. 3 of those. Then 5 Alarm Fire, a really good card actually. It's an enchantment. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage, put a blaze counter on this card. Remove 5 blaze counters from this card to deal 5 damage to target player or creature. So the creatures don't have to deal combat damage to a player, just combat damage at all. And then you get a blaze counter on it. So that's gonna be a lot of damage eventually.
Basically, I think the idea is that you should have 2 out at the same time.
Yeah.
With different...
Or 4.
Maybe that's a bit overkill.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then you have one of those cards that says, well, every time a creature enters, it fights another creature, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Keep attacking Aurelia, and etc. etc.
And then we have Molten Primordial for 7 mana. It's a 6/4 with haste. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, gain control of up to 1 target creature that player controls until end of turn. Untap those creatures and they gain haste.
So
yeah, that's a pretty sweet ability. Sure, it's only temporarily, but you could get rid of some nasty creatures and get them to your side.
And you could also cloud shift this baby, so you can get like 2 or maybe 3 creatures this turn. They all get haste. They don't leave because this creature leaves. So.
And the nice part is it's for each player, so you can basically get rid of all your opponent's creatures.
On a one-on-one, this card is not that awesome.
No.
But
then we have this little fellow who is really awesome for 1 mana. Legion Loyalist. 1 mana, 1/1 with haste. Good so far. Battalion. Whenever this card attacks with at least two other creatures, all creatures you control gain first strike and trample until end of turn, and can't be blocked by creature tokens this turn. All of those things on a 1 creature or 1 mana creature. That's so awesome.
So Goblin deck ahoy.
Oh yes.
Fuck you, token decks. Like all the other cards in this expansion.
Oh man. Then a Hellkite Tyrant. They're only rare. I mean mythic. It's a 6 mana, 6/5 flying trample dragon.
And interesting, definitely.
When it deals combat damage to a player, gain control of all of that player's artifacts. At the
Not
beginning
until the end of turn.
Nope, it's permanent. You get to control them. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game.
Which probably won't happen, but snatching artifacts left and right is a pretty sweet ability.
Yeah, and it's a really sweet ability if your opponent is really artifact heavy. Then, oops, I won the game.
And all your creatures and blah, blah.
Oh man. And then just the lands. I got 1 mountain, 1 swamp, and 2 forests as foil. Also got myself Boros Guildgate foil. And then 3 Stomping Grounds, the red and green mana.
The Gruul ones.
Which, by the way, this worked that when you put them out, either you can pay 2 life or they come out tapped.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
And they have 2 colors, that's usual.
So I got 3 green and blue, 2 blue and black, 3 red and white, and 3 black and white. And then we got this really weird card, which hopefully someone can enlighten me as to why it would be good in any potential.
If you do know, please put it in the comments.
Yeah, because you tap it for 1 mana, it's decent so far, or you can pay 2 mana and tap this, and it becomes a copy of target land and gains this ability, so you can potentially copy another land again. But why would you want to pay for that heavily?
It's already tapped then as well, so...
There are other cards that can give you mana of any color that...
Yeah, it's really strange.
Yeah.
We don't understand.
But that's basically the gist of all the rares and foils we got. And let's see. We can move the camera a bit so we can see those lithographs.
And zoom out. Upside down, the best view. Nice.
That's a pretty nice land, I'd say. It's an island from
No, it's a swamp.
Return to Ravnica, actually. So, from the previous one.
By Avon.
John Avon. That's a pretty cool looking poster, I'd say, or lithograph. And then I remember this one. Isn't this pretty much?
Anor Londo. No, I mean sorry. It's Is this a plains?
Yeah, Return to Ravnica plays.
Ah, it says okay. Yeah, you have to move your arms and stuff, so I can. And then we zoom in a bit. Look at this. Yes. Very pretty. Birdie. We apologize if this is not the optimal viewing experience for this. We were just thinking that while they're here, we might as well show you.
Yeah.
So you get like the hang of how they look like. Maybe you're still eligible to order these. I don't know.
This is a mountain.
Yeah.
Pretty cool looking.
Yeah, pretty.
Oh, these are pretty sweet actually.
Pretty quirky. Yeah. I really like the island one.
Yeah,
that was pretty sweet.
Really nice.
But I'm in general a very green player, so we'll see how that looks like. Ooh, this is a swamp.
Is this a swamp? That's more of a tunnel. But it looks cool anyway. He's got a knack for making these nice big landscapes.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
With some weird town. Yeah, it's Ravnica in the background, obviously.
Mm.
So this should be some sort of abandoned parts of town, maybe. And coincidentally, I think Ravnica, the whole plain, is the town, or something like that.
Yeah.
And
the last
forest.
one, forest. Oh,
Nice, like
I
a
like
really
it.
pretty garden in the evening, with some lanterns and stuff. You can't really enjoy this as much through the camera, sadly, but look at those
We
little
can say that
lanterns.
it's really pretty, so you gotta take our word for it.
Yeah. And Ravnica there. So Celestia and the Gruels chill out in this area probably.
So yeah, that was pretty much our display opening. Hope you enjoyed it and you got some interesting views of this magic set. And
Peace out.
Peace out.
Yeah.